Welcome to the Wisdom Bar. Hey, everybody.
Hey.
Well, the Wisdom Bar is open and we are back with yet another episode.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you guys so much for being here, checking out the show. For those that are new, welcome to the Wisdom Bar. I am Tamika Joy, and this is
DJ Double M.
Yes, and welcome. I'm sorry. We are. I'm sorry. Get over here. I'm sorry, you guys. I'm trying to make sure I don't lose you guys here. I didn't realize that battery was getting ready to go. Oh, yeah. But yeah, so we are here at the Wisdom Bar. It's organic, and this is what we do. So anything can happen. Anything can happen.
Conversation can start out one way and go totally in a whole different direction.
Yes.
But hey, we're praying however it goes. it will be educational for you, entertaining, and a vehicle of inspiration and encouragement.
Yes. We have a great show today. We couldn't let the month bleed out without talking about mental health. So we have some special guests that are going to come on and speak about mental health with us. I'm so excited for these women to share their wisdom in regards to mental health, because it is so important, and in a time and a day that we're living in today is more needed than ever more. We have not really I guess
it's been underestimated.
Yeah, definitely.
Over the years, it's something that has not been talked about, particularly in African American culture.
Mm-hmm.
And we've seen some stuff over the years, good and bad.
Mm-hmm.
But fortunately, it's coming to the forefront.
Mm-hmm.
It's being talked about. It's being discussed. It's being put out there.
Mm-hmm.
And we have some wonderful guests on board that can even push it even more.
Yes.
So, without further ado, Tamika, let's bring them on in.
Let's get it started. I have Miss Pelissa Osei-Tutu. She represents Sit a While and Heal.
Hello.
Welcome. I have Miss Jafani from the Project Stimulate. Welcome.
Greetings, everyone.
And I have Lady Leah with Us in Mind. Welcome.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure having you here.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yes. So we'll start with you, Miss Pelissa. If you could tell us a little bit of who you are, what you represent, share with us a little bit about Sit a While and Heal.
Sure. My name is Pelissa Osei-Tutu. I'm a licensed clinical social worker. I am a excited, happy graduate of Howard University. Last week, I celebrated my 20th anniversary, graduating with my MSW, but I've been in the field 23 years. I pretty much worked in almost every facet of mental health, from working with children and adolescents to adults and families. My specialty now with my practice has been working with the BIPOC community. So focusing a lot on minority mental health. I have a passion for connecting with Black men and getting them into care. My years in the field, I had always seen that women, we don't have a problem kind of seeking help. And so we'd see these different groups of people, and it was always the Black men that were the hardest to come in and the hardest to stay in treatment. So part of my work now is I'm training therapists. So I have about 8 or 9 supervisees who are preparing to become LCSWs. And my work is to help them to become culturally competent, meaning like who each of us are. Just because I'm Black doesn't mean I subscribe to the same thing as my fellow Black brother or sister. There's more to us, and every person deserves to be treated like an individual and meet them where they are. So that's a little bit about me.
I love it. I love it. Lady Leah, would you like to share with us what with us in mind and who you are, what you represent?
Yes. So I am, y'all bear with me. I've been under the weather a little bit, but I'm good. I'm Lady Leah Monet. I strictly go by that without all the formalities with the last name. I started with us in mind 2020. However, I've been in the nonprofit sector for 27 years, and I started in Washington, D.C., military child. So we grew up in Virginia. We traveled a while, but I started with Keep It Real back in 2000 when my little cousin was killed at Woodrow Wilson High School. So I have a very vast background in not just for non-for-profit, but with dealing with at-risk adolescents. I didn't grow up that way, so I couldn't understand it. So something in me said, it's something more to it. And so I, over the years of kind of what they call the fixer, I create and I go in and help other businesses develop into what they should be to help our community. It's one thing to read a book and say, let me help you, but it's another thing to go inside and do the work. And that's what I've always done, even from a young age. I started my very first nonprofit at 15, going on 16 years old through Fairfax County Parks and Recreation Center. So with us in mind was rebirth when I transitioned to New Jersey quite a while. It's been a while. But when I came here, I found that they had different issues than what our children in Washington, D.C. had. And a lot of people were like, what do you mean? There is a different environment. It's a different culture than what I was accustomed to. So I didn't grow up in Washington, D.C. It was DMV. It was my home. It was a part of my niche. And so when I came here, I realized that I couldn't bring what I had there here. I had to something specifically for them here, even though they have the same mother-father issues. With us in mind is dedicated to dealing with their issues. Everything we do is with them in mind. It's because they're Black American, if it's African American, if it's Hispanic, everything we develop, job skills, job training, going into the communities to help them relate to the children. Everybody doesn't work the same. They don't believe the same. So with us in mind, really, it's just that we make sure that we create programs, services, and work with business owners to provide our people what they need, but do it with us in mind. Making sure they consider us. So that's a baby organization compared to what I've done over the years with Sasha Bruce and several other organizations throughout the East Coast. And right now I'm in 8 different territories, and I'm pretty much across the United States of America as not just a life coach. I'm also a pastor. So I get it from 2 different angles, but that's pretty much some of what I do. Yeah, that's some of what I do.
All right. Very interesting work.
Yes, I love it. Love it.
Thank you.
Okay, Miss Jafani from the Project Stimulate.
Hello, my name is Jafani, and I am a native Washingtonian. The Project Stimulate is something I created roughly about 2015. I started out just wanting to disseminate information into the community, because I feel like a lot of times people who have barriers lack just basic knowledge and information about housing, scholarships, reentry, just all of the food insecurities, medical information. So I just really wanted to, just let people know that, hey, you qualify for this or you can apply for that, because they honestly, once you hear something from one person, hey, my grandmother said I would never qualify for that, you don't ever go try to to apply. You never revisit it or anything. And a lot of times that's not true. And especially like here in DC, I feel like DC is like a melting pot to help people with barriers if you, of course, know the information. So I started the Project Stimulate, and it's super grassroots. I'm on the ground. Like, a mom just contacted me the other day. Hey, I had a newborn. She's a preemie. I don't have anything for her. I just gather people, and over the years, people have just really helped out just out of the kindness of their heart. So those are the kinds of things that I do over at the Project Stimulate. I work in mental health. I work at there's only 2 crisis beds in DC, and I happen to work at one of them. And that is if you're in a mental health crisis and you are, you don't need a hospital and you aren't quite stable enough to be at home, you can come to my job. I'm here at work right now. I just did a 24-hour shift, and I need to stay back here until this is over. So I'm here currently. And like the young lady, the Howard graduate LSW was saying, like, I find a lot of times when someone is about to leave here, because you can only stay for 14 days, a lot of times we may possibly know a resource for a woman, but oftentimes we don't have any resource to give a man except for a homeless shelter. So I definitely can relate to what she was saying there. And I also find a disparity with senior citizens who don't have like children or lifelines. They kind of get lost in the sauce if they have a mental health diagnosis. And if they don't have like the proper guidance, they will get lost in the shuffle as well. I see that a lot at my job. Also, I do a podcast every Tuesday with one of my dear friends. It's called Talks with Tone and Tina, because Tina is my nickname. And I've been doing that for about 7 years now. Also, I recently created what I like to call the only live game show in the DMV. It's called For the Record Music Trivia Game Show. And I heard your DJ saying this, and I heard you saying, Tamika, that you have always liked to work with creative people, just honing their skills and doing all of that kind of stuff. I did something similar to that in the past as well. But my game show is what I'm really focusing on right now, other than doing the work in the community. It's about 8 months old. I've done it at studios, pop-up events. I was fortunate enough to get it booked at a place called Chocolate Con. And I will be doing the next one on June the 1st. And it's a full-scale game show with 4 categories, a lightning bonus round. People have been gracious enough to give great prizes out, and things like that. So I'm just developing that right now as well. But working with people with barriers is like my passion more than anything.
I love it. And I'm going to really real quick ask you one of the first questions, I guess, in regards to barriers, is what are maybe the major barriers that prevent people from seeking help for mental health issues?
Of course, I feel like the stigma. For a lot of time in the African American community, there was always a stigma placed on if you sought just basic services. So people don't like to be labeled quote unquote crazy and things of that nature. I feel that people also get discouraged because they think, hey, they're just going to put me on medicine and I'm not going to still be in my right mind. People think that they would lose control, of just their basic rights. And I feel like those types of things are the main reasons that people don't seek the help that they need. And unfortunately, what ends up happening a lot of times is they end up getting into trouble where they're in psychosis and they get FD12, which is put on, a hold against their will because of like how they're presenting. And then they will go into care and possibly get the services they need. So I feel like a lot of times it's just fear of the unknown and just old wives' tales that you've heard other people saying, but you've never, in fact, got any help for yourself before then.
No, yeah, I definitely agree. It's unfortunate of the for people to really be able to be honest with their mind with someone without them having to feel like they want to take advantage of it, or that, well, I'm not going to get any help anyway, so what's the use of it? It's unfortunate. Miss Polisa, could you tell me what are some uh, common misconceptions about mental health, and what do you feel that needs to be addressed when it comes to that?
I think the misconceptions is kind of like what Miss Jafani was saying, this ideal that you're going to be crazy, labeled as crazy. A lot of us who are used to being caretakers and also used to being the fixers, knowing that we can't fix ourselves, then it turns into an inward, what's wrong with me, that I can't figure this out. The misconceptions are also that you have to go to therapy just because you are psychotic, have bipolar disorder, some of these more actually rare disorders. But the reality is life happens. Sometimes divorce, I like to talk about this one. Divorce is a death. And people making a decision about getting a divorce or even separated, you might need an outside person, because we love our family, but our families all have an opinion. And what better than talking to someone who has no stake in your life, has no what's the word I'm looking for? They will not lose or gain anything by telling you the truth. Another misconception is we're only supposed to go to the church for help. And I say we can do both, because when you have a cavity, you don't just go and pray that the cavity will go away. You still go to the dentist, and then you pray that the dentist uses his expert hands and expertise to get out that cavity, so that your teeth will be functional, or that you don't have to lose a tooth. So I think that's another big one.
Yeah. Faith without works is dead.
Yeah, but I think that's a big one for the African American community, is this: am I abandoning God by seeking man's support for something like this? What's wrong with me?
I think one of the things we often are not being taught in our culture is that, well, simply, and I had to learn this myself, God does work through people.
Bingo.
Absolutely. He definitely works through people. He works through places. He works through anything that, can get you songs. I mean, he just works. There's no limit. That's the thing. I think people box him too much. It could be a word that can just touch your heart. It could be a song. It could be a color that, it could be a smell. We just, we box him on what he's really capable of doing.
Sometimes he has to remind us, and then you say that I'm omnipotent, that I'm all powerful, but then you want to put limits on what I do. And what's up with that?
Exactly.
Lady Leah, how would you define mental health?
That's big. I would define mental health as a personal imbalance through tragedy. Tragedy, everyone hears the word tragedy and they think it's always something negative, but it's not, or a situation comes, you can get a new job and anxiety kicks in. Am I going to be good enough? Are they going to keep me? Will I make my 90 days? Are they going to like me? Do I, I have to kiss up until I get in good, and it becomes tragedy because then you internalize it. And then you create this inner me. Your inner me starts playing this trick on your mind, making you believe that either you're inadequate or you're good. You have some people go into a company and think, I can change everything about this company. If it was mine, I would do this. Well, it's not yours. You have to go in and be willing to be submissive to whatever the plan is for that. And when you're thinking about mental health, you're thinking about pretty much our life, right? You know, mental health is not something necessarily identified in the Bible, but you hear of stories about people in the Bible that have what we now identify as mental health. The man with the issue with, you know, the lady with the issue of blood, you know what I mean? She tried everything she could. She went to, you know, everybody she could, you know, so we health in pretty much every capacity, every aspect, every area of our life. But I think it's just an imbalance. I believe it partially is an imbalance emotionally, physically, financially, spiritually. It's an imbalance. Because when your body's not balanced, you know, you're limping, right? You're off balance. The same thing with your thoughts. When you can't really bring your thoughts into submission with, let me try before I even put my own thought on it. Let me see if I can even do it. You know, a lot of children, I can, but did you try it? Same thing with adults. They'll say that they can't do something before they put themselves out there to try it. So mental health is how we view ourselves in situations. It's the imbalance of knowing that we can or cannot because we haven't tried or because we've seen other people fail. Like those are just some of my thoughts when I think about mental health. We can always stop ourselves before we even put ourselves out there because it looks bigger than us. It looks stronger than us. It looks like it may overtake us. But when we're imbalanced like that, because we want to give ourselves the opportunity, when we're imbalanced, we shorten ourselves before we can get out there.
All right. I have a question.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I wanted to add on to what Lady Leah mentioned about mental health. I also think it's a deliberate effort to care for your whole self.
Yes.
So it's not just, again, not waiting until you're sick, because that's what some of us do. You don't go to the doctor until something's wrong.
Yeah.
But if you go for those, like your blood work and stuff, when you're doing well, you can prepare for what's next. So I think mental health, I do like that there's been a little bit of a shift going from just calling it mental health to mental wellness. And part of the wellness is looking into your physical health, your spiritual health, and your brain health. So I just wanted to add that on to what you were saying.
Yeah, and all of that has to do with just being mindfulness. Mindfulness is basically just being aware of you all the way around, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, financially, and all of those different things. Just really tuning in to who you are, paying attention to what's going on at the present time, and just taking that moment in to really just help yourself guide you. Because once you kind of just get into you of who you are, what you're feeling, what you're going through at that moment, that will then be able to become a pattern of something that you will then continue to keep doing. I always tell my kids when they get upset to just take that moment to really just internally feel what's going on. Why is that making you upset? Why are you reacting that certain way? Is that a good reaction? How did that reaction make you feel? What did that reaction do? These are the things that we really need to take the time out to do when things like that happen, because if we don't, then it becomes a pattern of something that we don't even really know what it is. A lot of people don't understand why they can go from 0 to 100 in matters of seconds, because they have trained themselves that if something triggers them, that they can go from 0 to 100 because they don't know what to do, and they don't know how to guide themselves to say, you know what, well, I'm just going to go from 0 to 50. Now I'm down to 1 to 20. Now I'm here, where it's going to take a lot to get me to where, you know, what used to make me mad, what used to trigger me to be a certain way, now I no longer am receptive to really, you know, paying attention to that. That no longer gets me upset. You know, it doesn't ruffle my feathers anymore, you know. And I think that has been a lesson learned for me in regards to really having mindfulness in your life. And
for me as well. You know, I several years ago, I had to actually go through therapy because of a situation that happened where I really lost my temper and ended up in police custody for a while.
Mm.
And it took me a while to understand where the roots of that problem came from. And it was through a lot of years that a lot of things that happened in my childhood. Now, 20 some years later, I'm at the point where, I can step back and say, okay, this person said something to me that I did not like. And this is how I'm going to handle it. And this is how I'm going to react to it.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't always that case.
Yeah. No, that's the thing. It's not always, something when it comes to, it's just paying attention to what, that situation is, or just learning and growing from it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, I understand now I got a problem, because a lot of people don't want to just be accountable and really deal with the fact that, something's off, something's not there.
Right.
They don't want to address it. They don't want to feel like,
right.
I got an issue at hand.
And that goes into the question that I really have for Melissa, but all three of you can chime in on this one. And it was alluding to the fact, Melissa, I believe you said something about being able to help African American men break the stigma that we have mental health issues and we should be free to address them, because those of us who came up, so I would say in the earlier generation, we were pretty much taught by the baby boomers that we should be Supermen. We should bottle up our emotions, not express what we feel. Keep everything to ourselves. Be stoic.
Suck it up.
Suck it up. Be a man. All the nonsense that we've been told throughout the years, and we a lot of us are subscribed to that. Fortunately, I'm proud to say that I broke free of it. But it took me some time, but I guess my question to you is, how do you help, or how can we further break free of that social change, and how we can keep ourselves not subscribing to that social nonsense?
That's a whole separate podcast on its own. Okay, first of all, but I think one of the things is about meeting people where they are. Starting, like, part of the work that I do with men has been around like their beginnings. Like, who we are today isn't just based off of this, like, oh, I'm this person. This is based off of years of witnessing. Whether our parents are usually our first references, or whoever our primary caretakers were, our first reference for love, for managing our emotions. So I always ask, like, when you cried, what happened? How were you received? Were you allowed to? And I always say, God made tear ducts for a reason. So why would we suppress tears when they come out? There's a book called The Language of Tears, and it just talks about that, about how there's so many different reasons why we cry. It's not just about pain. It's also about joy, frustration, sometimes when there's no words for the word. And so with especially Black men, part of it, I've learned you have to be very patient when they come in, because I'm only here because, okay, I'm glad you're here and I want you to stay. I've had some come in. One time I said, Black man, I want you here. I want you to come back to this next session. If you feel like you don't want to come, give me a call and we can talk it through. And I think just knowing that, like, it is not a weakness to get support, because it's not help. Therapy is not help. It's support.
That's it.
It is support, because support means you're still able to stand. You might just, be a little wobbly. And so you might need a crutch for a little while, but eventually you release the crutch and you walk on your own. That is really how therapy is supposed to look. And I think if we convey that more, people will say, okay, I think it's actually a little more palpable to receive, like, okay, you're not doing it for me. You're going to guide me through it. And yes, part of it is I tell people, I'm going to have to call you out sometimes. Sometimes your family might want to, but they're afraid of your wrath. I'm not afraid of it because I know there's something else beneath it. You're allowed to be mad at me. I won't take it personal. It's harder for your family and friends sometimes to be honest with you because they don't want to lose that connection.
And can I piggyback off of Pelissa? Tag teaming this in. One thing I think, and I know Pelissa does it as well, but I think in this world that we're in is identifying what we made normal. We have to go back to the place where it was normal to sweep things under the rug. What goes on in my house stays in my house. The men seeing the fathers hit their mothers or yell at their mothers or speak to the or speak in a certain tone and a manner. It was always wait till your father gets home. And so a fear was instilled in our men. And so that fear they now have taken and they ingested it. They ate that fear. They ate it. I'm waiting when he gets home. I already know he's going to hit me. He's going to yell. So now they digested that, but they never regurgitated it properly. When they did, they regurgitated it in a way of acting out. And so a lot of times women will paint red flags white. They'll paint them pink, whatever color. When you hear it in the way they talk, back in the day, the girls thought it was cute. Oh, he told me he don't want me to go nowhere. Girl, who you what? Like I was that girl. I was a preacher kid anyway. He said, you can't go nowhere. And I was young, but I saw it as a red flag. Because why are we in our teens saying some boy said we can't go somewhere? You know what I mean? and they thought it was cute. Girl, I gotta wait for him to call me back. Bye. I'm going to I'm going to the rec center. I'm doing something. And so we have to be able to let people know that you weren't raised wrong. Your parents raised you with whatever tools they had. They did the best that they can do, but you normalized some things that were unnormal, that were not normal, that were not healthy. So let's identify what those were. It is not, nowadays we have, well, not in my house, but we have children that will come to the table with a phone. Whoa, you know what I mean? Like we've gone from a place where you used to have to sit at the table and communicate to now when we have children who rush to eat their food and they're back in their room and they're having conversations. First and foremost, our kids couldn't survive in this world when we had AOL dial-up. I feel like I'm aging myself. Ain't nobody got time to wait. I said ain't for no AOL dial-up. They mad if the Wi-Fi not clicking on correct, right? But again, we had a different type of moral and standard back then. We also have to understand that there's generational layers of why your mother and your father raised you the way they did. So when you come into the room with someone like a Miss Pelissa or myself, we let you talk. We let you say whatever you need to say. So now that you got that off your chest, let's talk about what's really wrong. Let's talk about how your father was mad because your mom let you lay on her breast too long. Let's talk about that whole man up thing. I hear women telling their boys now, man up. Girl, he only 4. What he manning up to?
Right.
I hate for little boys to cry. They have normalized that those wordings, but they know that they don't like it, right? Because they didn't like when their mother says certain things to them. But they're doing what their parents did. They're doing it without a conscience, right? Our parents did it with a conscience. Everybody's not your friend. Everybody, you know what I mean? What they said to us had something underneath it. Right? Because they experienced some things. Our young people, our people nowadays are speaking just out of things that they're seeing, not a real experience. And so we have to stop allowing people to live in that false narrative that what happened back then is okay. Is that okay, Pelissa? Is that was
That's why I said it could be a whole other podcast on its own.
It should be.
It is.
Absolutely.
It needs to be. I think it just talking to, mental health is something that just needs to be, is layers. like you said, it's layers of, and it's things that have impacted you in your life over and over again. Yeah, and it's so, you have individuals that are now 50, 60, 70 years old that have to deal with what they see that goes on today and cannot relate because they have all these things of what they were taught and what they're dealing with now. They can't relate. They don't understand. They don't get it, or they weren't taught a certain type of thing. And a lot of them, I know it was a discussion with when it came to me and my family, because we would talk about, how some of the like my aunts or great aunts would kind of not like let us feel like because they're the older that when we speak that we are not being respectful because we're just expressing our emotions on how we feel. Who you disrespecting? I'm not disrespecting. I'm just telling you how I feel, and so I think that has been a misconception in regards to how the society has, basically put upon us as I have to shun my emotions. I have to scale how I feel because that's a form of disrespect to an elder person. And the kids nowadays, they don't care how old you are, young, old, they're going to express how they feel. And that's how I came to learn to meet people where they are because of that right there. Having, a son he's 27, be 28 come October. I have a 23-year-old, 21-year-old, and then I have 14 and two 13-year-olds, or one 15 and one 13-year-old, two 13-year-olds. That's a whole bunch of gaps in regards to ages of children, generations that I have had to really take in and learn in order to keep up. And they still call me old. They still be like, you whack. Whatever. But at the same token, I had to learn, like, no, it's not she's not being disrespectful. She just telling you how she feel. I can't, when they be quiet when spoken to and all those different things that we basically learned, it has changed. And we got to learn that it has changed. And I told my own children, like, listen, know that it's going to change. So my grandkids that are now 4 years old, when you sit and you get to my age and you be like, well, I remember I said this to you. It's changed. You in that changing cycle now. Keep up.
Yeah. And parents would say that a lot of times, if you don't mind, parents would tell back then you to not speak until spoken to or not to express yourself because they were afraid of you identifying or disclosing who they really are in their area, their issues, right? Because a lot of times your parent will see them in you. And if you open your mouth, you may say the very thing that's going to trigger them and take them into a place that's like, I wasn't bold enough to say it, but now you're showing my true colors. You're telling people who I really am. And that's why it was a lot of keeping you contained. I always say to people, trauma has levels. Trigger has levels, and so does healing.
Absolutely.
And when we continue to tell people to close their mouth, it's because we're afraid of the truth. Mommy, I didn't like when you touched me like that. Daddy used to, grandpa used to. And it's like, don't open your mouth because it's going to expose what happened to you, but it's going to tell what happened to me and what happened to your aunt and what happened. And so that's where that keep it closed.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's a lot of that.
Yeah, absolutely. They don't want to be accountable. And that just all comes down to with being accountable of what happened. They want to, I've heard so many people say, well, either that's a deathbed conversation,
Mhm.
or they won't speak on a situation that has happened until that person has passed away.
Yep.
And
Why
then
would you want
yes,
to?
why would you want to speak on something when the person that you can get a fair explanation from is gone?
Well, they say that
They
person
don't want it.
that person is not going to actually be accountable and really tell the truth or say what it is that they want them to say. So they rather not. But my thing is, why put your body through a situation of pain, and to smite for them to just live, a life. Now you dealing with different diseases and situations because and they didn't surpass you. They didn't live past you. You done went dead. You dead on gone because now you got high blood pressure, cancer, all these different illness because you're holding
Holding on to a
all of
secret.
these things in your body, and they living scot free. And that's what we got to get out of. We got to get out of those, letting people live scot free in your head, with all the trauma that you have been, taking on. Let it go.
Yes.
Let it go.
I think a part of it too is the emotional intelligence factor and emotional maturity, because part of it too is if your parents didn't have the language to give you about that emotion, that behavior, you're going to grow up potentially and still don't have it. Then you have your own kids, and then you're not going to instill it in them. And so sometimes when we talk about generational trauma, it's not just the insidious like sexual abuse, physical abuse, it's also the suppression of healthy human emotion. There's nothing about any of us in this pod that's one note. We are never just happy for an entire day. We might get annoyed, frustrated. The point is that we're not stagnant. As long as you are alive, you are not stagnant. And that's sometimes, I think, something I find myself having to tell people. As long as you have a breath, you have an opportunity to redeem yourself, to learn something new about yourself, to move past that moment. Because in our worst moments, there's still a light.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes we need somebody else to like point it out to us, but it's still there.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Jafani, can you tell me, well, let me hear your take on why do you think mental health is as important in the society of today? Yeah. Can it? Can't hear you. I can't hear you. Uh-oh. Can you speak again? No, I still can't.
No, can't hear.
Mm-mm. Wow. I can't hear you. Wow. I don't know what happened. You're not on mute. You're not on mute. Speak again. No, I can't hear you, but I can see you. And I see that you're not actually on mute. That's wild. That's crazy. You wanna come back? You wanna try to remove yourself and come back? Okay. We're gonna ask you the same question. We'll ask both of you guys. Why do you guys think that right now that mental health awareness is important?
Well, like you were mentioning earlier, Tamika Joy, mental health impacts our physical health. And so those things, there is a type of Lewy body, a type of dementia that has been linked to unresolved trauma. That like unresolved trauma After a while, it's like your body's trying to protect itself from itself. So like the white matter in the brain, it builds up. It almost sounds like it builds a shield over that part of the brain so you don't have to remember the trauma, but then it later on turns into dementia. There's a type of breast cancer that has been linked to early childhood trauma.
Mhm.
So there is nothing about us that isn't interconnected.
Mhm.
So addressing our mental health and being intentional, being mindful, and doing something every day to care for ourselves is just necessary. During COVID, the mental health field, we went into action, and what we all kept saying was, it's bad right now, but it's going to be worse when we come out of this. Some people, like my nephew was born during COVID. There's some kids who came into this world not seeing this half of people's faces. So
Mhm.
not being able to recognize facial expressions and sounds in a normal way. Kids who didn't get to finish out their high school, middle school, elementary school.
Daughter. Mhm.
And so, part of it too is I've just seen a lot of people struggle socially in ways that we had never seen before.
Mhm.
So, addressing mental health, mental wellness is more important than ever because it's going to have a huge impact on the success of this society moving forward.
Mhm. Absolutely, I definitely agree. Shafani, you're back. Would you like to share? The question was, why do you think that mental health is so important in today's society?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Okay, so I know that of course mental health encompasses like your emotional, your psychological, and your social. And I feel like, hey, if you don't want to get to a mental health diagnosis or a mental illness, you have to, like you said, self-care, mindfulness. Like Miss Monet was saying, everyone isn't on 10 all day every day, but if you're mindful and you're cognizant of that, you can do the work to try to keep your mental health intact as much as you possibly can. I know that there are like traumas and other factors that can possibly get in the way, but I feel that there are so many resources out here that can help you navigate your mental health, to from exercise to therapy to the different programs like you guys have, just even speaking and talking about things that you've gone through. I think that's very important to keep your mental health stable. Um, and I've just seen like so many people over the years from all ages, all walks of life, come through these doors, and all of them have like a story. All of them have had amazing points in their lives, but because of whatever issues, could have stemmed from childhood, could have stemmed from like a traumatic experience as an adult, they have like succumbed to mental health diagnosis. But it's the work that you do going forward after that happens that is going to like dictate how your mental health is and how you're going to live. So I think it's just always important to keep doing that work and to just speak to people and talk to people and see what they're going through, see what you can do to help, but take a strength-based approach and respect everybody's differences and boundaries. And everybody doesn't want help at that moment. You can give the information and, hey, my door is always open, those kinds of things. But I think that's very important to just always be, if you're in this field, to always be mindful that everybody has had a different experience. Your kids can live in the same household and all three of them can tell you a different story about their life. You know what I mean? So just being like super mindful, but just the social, emotional, and psychological aspect of the mental.
Mhm. Love it. Love it. How about you, Lady Leah?
Yeah, so Outside of all of this that I do, I am a healthcare professional. So I've been a chief of staff at the health department for many years. And what I will say is our parents were not ready for where we are in life today. So there's a huge gap of them trying to catch up to where we are now, which means that we went from waiting for the food to get hot in the oven to put it in the microwave. Putting it in the microwave created foods that were not healthy for us. It created things that were unhealthy for us. So now you have a baby who bottle used to warm on the stove in a microwave, which is unhealthy for us, but it's a quick fix, is an immediate thing. And now you have chemicals, you have radiation, you have all of these things. And people don't want to be honest about this, but I'll be honest with you. I'm not saying it because I think it sounds good. I'm saying it's because it's reality. It went from mom cooking a dinner, we were waiting to get it out the refrigerator or the freezer and pop it in the microwave. So now you have sodium, you have hormones, you have double the hormones. You have a child that's at 3, 4, 5 years old who has natural hormones, is just saying, oh, he's just a boy, he's running around, he's jumping, to now he has his hormones plus the hormones that's in the food that he's eating. Now he has this extra hormone that's creating him to be even more hyper. And back then they were giving Ritalin like it was candy. They were giving it out like it was Tic Tacs or you church candy handed out to anyone. And now that's the way to calm them down. So now you created robots. You create robots. Now they're sitting there. Yes, Miss Johnson. No, Miss Johnson. And as soon as they come down off of it, they find out that, wait a minute, I feel different. The parent is saying, so there's so many things, but we're talking about why do we think that we are where we are now is because some parents are fighting against saying, I'm not putting my child on that medication. Your school system is going to have to figure out how to deal with my kid. But guess what? The book didn't tell them how to deal with mental health. It said, read this book and teach them that Christopher Columbus found and discovered America. It says nothing about how do you deal with a kid who's a visual learner, who's a learner that's good by listening, a child that's hands-on, right? But what happens is they go to school and they have to sit and listen to this person go blah, 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 or womp. And their mind is going, well, what's next? What's next? What's next? He won't sit down. He won't, you know what I mean? You got this child that's going. And the mother saying, you better sit down. You beating them. But you can't beat the hormone out of this child that has no place to go. You can't beat normalcy in a child who doesn't connect 2 and 2 to be 4 at the same time that you connected to be 4. So now we have issues because some parents are putting their children on medication because it became a paycheck. You have some parents who said, I'm not putting them on medication, but you have a teacher that's saying they can't come to my class. Let's put them in an alternative class. Well, when you put them in an alternative class, everyone in that alternative class is treated like they're special needs. Now I'm special needs because I go, but I found out I like being in a special needs class because there really aren't too many rules. I don't really have to go through the structure that you're going through. And when I get home, I already know my mom's going to be bark. But I'm going to go back into what's normal to me. So you're saying all that to say what? We're in a world where it's an unbalance. A parent now is a parent that was raised by a mother said, do as I say, not as I do, blah, blah, blah. Now we have teenagers trying to raise babies and they don't even know how to wash themselves well, let alone how to read a book from cover to cover because they go on Google and ask Google everything, right? It became a big it's a mental break, right? But why is it a mental break? It's what we're putting in our bodies. If I give you McDonald's, I don't have to go home and cook. But I'm not thinking about the outcome of giving you food that stays in your body and creates excessive poison because it's not breaking down. You're having stomach issues and I'm giving you medication over the counter. I don't know what I'm feeding you because I don't know the ingredients. But now you have Billy and Sue Ellen who said, well, why is my child being this way? They come from a great background. Guess what? They go and discover that the food that they're eating at Chick-fil-A is 50 out of 50 ingredients, 40 of them are man-made. Do you understand what I'm saying? It took someone else. We don't know to do that because we're being told a certain thing. That's why our community have to bring it back to community. I don't care if you take a Black family and put them in the white area, if you want to call it that, even though it's really no such thing. But if you take them out, you still have the mental that you have to deal with. And where we are today, sorry to be long-winded, but where we are today, I've seen children, parents didn't even know that I opened up a free dental clinic because there's money for it. I can give your child free dental care from infancy until they're 17. Parents were sending their kids to school. They were having toothaches, did not know that toothaches is 90% of the issues you have in your body comes from your mouth. Mental disconnections.
And some of us are actually adults at 50, 60 years adults. We're learning that.
Yes.
Was never told that we were coming up as children.
Right.
Never told that when we were young adults. And here we are, almost senior citizens, and we're figuring out, hey, I'm having all these problems, mainly because the main entrance to my body is through my tooth, through my gums.
This headache isn't normal. I've been I just have a little headache. Let me pop Tylenol. I'm feeling a little pain in my shoulder. Let me pop, and don't even realize that you have decay in your mouth or you have certain things in your mouth, right? And am I blaming anyone for it? No, because when you're not taught, you don't know. What did they say for years? If you don't want a Black person to know something, put it in a book.
In a book, yeah.
You have people who, like me, you see my skin and you think I'm Black, but we're mixed. And I dealt with that crisis for a very long time because I had a sister who was lighter than me, but she had a Black father and our mother was, mixed or whatever. But I had to deal with people making fun of that, right? Do you understand the mental that takes on a person? So we're talking about there's a time where kids don't retaliate the way they used to, right? Oh, shut up. I hate you. You're fat. You get on my nerve. Right nowadays, they're going to get a gun and they're getting a knife and they're getting, they're not responding the same way. I had my first tragedy, at 9 years old. And because no one knew how to deal with me, at 15, I created something called Trauma First Responders. I had to teach my mother how to deal with me. I had to teach my sister how to deal with me. I had to show people how to deal with me because I wasn't the same, right? We have to create things like that. Maybe we have to change the name because everybody don't like that. They don't like the trauma. I'm not fine, we'll change the name but the truth of the matter is I have to support you through this process. And Pelissa said it very well earlier. You go to the doctor. Yes, if you're on crutches, you're not going to use them forever. A football player gets hurt. Once he's done with his injury, he's crutches away. It had to support him through that period. So we are in a very, very vital and pivotal point in our life where we have to go back old school foundation, not practices.
That's it. Right. That's right. That's it. Because we got out they got us out. They got out the fields. They got out, the homes and created a community for us. And there's no way in the world that they were able to do that. I mean, we're talking about men and women that couldn't speak, couldn't read, men and women that didn't have a car. Just all the things that we have, they had less than that, and they made a way. There's no way in the world that they were able to do that, and create a situation for us to be here today, to be amongst ourselves and doing what we're doing and not going back to that blueprint. I absolutely agree.
I agree with you 1,000% on that. I always say back in the day, we didn't have a lot materialistic wise, but we had a huge, strong sense of community. And today we have lost that to live in these areas, drive this car. Those are our most important things, not the sense of community, like you said, that we would always stick together and support and uplift and hold each other up. And I feel like that is something missing in our community, really bad.
Yeah. Everybody's so worried about what somebody got on, joning on. What are those? Or all those stuff the kids be saying. But they need to know that, those things do not, don't is not what someone is, and it actually describes what a person is capable of being and doing. I always go back to the time when I was in Disney World, and I'm just like, looking around, and I could tell you how many Jordans I seen on in people's feet walking around Disney World, because it wasn't about what you had on, it is about the experience
Yes.
going to Disney World. People that go to Disney World ain't worried about being fly. They worried about the experience. They worried about traveling. They worried about seeing the world, showing their kids, outside of the block or the neighborhood.
They simply having fun.
Yeah.
Something we have forgotten. Something we have forgotten how to do.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I definitely, this was a great discussion. I think it's definitely needed more, as much as possible. It just needs to hit the masses, and people just need to learn different tools, different things that they can get when it comes to mental health. I'm a big advocate of mental health, because I truly feel like I was able to heal, not really heal myself, but I took the time out to really get the tools and go to where the resources that I need to be able to overcome the trauma that I have had in my life, from having a father that was on alcohol, and I had to deal with not having him in the house from the age of 8 all the way up, having a mom. It was really like my sister, because she was young when she had me, but her mom died when she was 6, and so she was raised by her aunt that basically her parents died at a young age, and so you have those generations of different things. So I'm the matriarch of the entire family. So I got everybody on my back, and I'm trying to make this happen, and I'm trying to make that happen, and I'm decisions that the people that actually raised me now, they were late in their 50s. Nobody was younger than 50 years old raising me, and they became to be in age and passed away, and now I don't have those people in my life to really guide me. So then I'm in the streets, and now the streets is my family, and I'm doing all these crazy things out in the streets, to get the love that I know I lost. And so out there making crazy worldly decisions that made me, learn what life is all about fast, and I had to do that for myself, to say, their life is not in vain. They taught you way better than that. They taught you way better than that. And so you will not go down that road. And so it is something that we have to come to understanding, that, for those that didn't really get that, they need the resources like us to say, it's okay if you didn't get what I got, or what, whoever, the next person got. Let me show you. Let me help you. Let me, support you. Yeah. So it's definitely important.
Yes,
indeed. Important. Do you guys have any? Let's go around the room, and for our last moments, any take you would like to share, any shout outs, or your Instagram, your social media, or however we can find you, so that people can continue to get support from you.
I'll start. Green is the color for Mental Health Awareness Month, so that's why I had my green on today in support. My Instagram is sit a while and heal, and I also I've started doing wellness retreats and healing journeys. I'm originally from Ghana, born in South Africa. So I've started doing travel for folks who are looking to heal from generational trauma and also reconnect with the continent through my LLC, my second LLC, which is Travel Soul. So go ahead and follow me on there, and I'm really looking forward to doing that. And then I have a women's wellness retreat coming up in Jamaica for February 2025. I am honored to be a part of this group today. I love what I do.
Yeah.
And for me, ultimately, if one person takes something away from today, then I know that I've done God's work.
Amen.
Absolutely.
Amen.
Amazing. I can go. I'm Jafani. I'm probably one of the only Jafani. So you can find me on any social media platform under Jafani. I was named after a lady named Jafani, by the way. So I know there's, and I met a young lady by that name too one day. But you can find me on social media under Jafani, and Tina is my nickname. So Jafani Tina, and that will just lead you to all of my other pages. I'm currently, speaking of what Tamika said, I'm currently working on a documentary about the social economic effect of the sneaker on our culture. Just what the sneaker was originally made for, how much it costs to make a sneaker, and how many people have lost their lives over the sneaker. So I've been just interviewing families, immigrants, just different people, getting their take on the sneaker, on the name brand, on how much money they would spend and things like that. So that's something I'm working on. And of course, my game show, For the Record. And the Project Stimulate will always go on and be like my favorite thing. Like Patria said, like just doing the community work. I would always tell people I would do it for free if I wasn't already poor. So that's how much I actually love working with people. I've worked with abused, neglected teens, court adjudicated teens, prenatal moms, postnatal moms, seniors, mental health, intellectually delayed, any population that you can name. I've worked with them over the past 30 years. I also want to let everybody know that UDC has a free program if you would like to become a social worker, because they feel like there's a deficiency in social workers in DC. So I'm thinking about getting in that program myself. I already have a bachelor's degree, but I just like to disseminate whatever information I find. That's pretty much it. So I will be following you guys on all of your platforms.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
Good job, Jafani. You wait to the end to talk.
I talk.
It was my fault. I'm sorry.
I talk a lot, and I have to consciously make myself not like quote unquote take over. So I'm like, hey, Jafani, like just lay back today, because I would just go on and on. I just did a mental health presentation Monday. I work with a reentry group, and I do a Zoom with them on Monday. So I just like rambled and talked to them for like over an hour. So I was like, I'm gonna fall back today.
I'm like, oh my God. You're not gonna invite me back. She's gonna be like, you got 5 minutes. I said, no. No, I think you all are amazing. Tamika, we'll talk offline, but I think you're absolutely amazing. I always give kudos and credit where it's due. So what you're doing, I've been following you for a very long time. Well, I know you outside of this, it's been a long time, but I'm so proud of the work that you're doing. You know, a lot of times I believe, you know, our MSW, even though it still says LSCW up there, SW, I wasn't gonna say anything, our masters. But you know, I think a lot of the things that we do, or all of the things we do, come out of some trauma that we've experienced, something, whether it's in our family or, you know, our very own. But, you know, with us in mind, I was looking for I'm old. I'm really not old, but I don't really know the social media thing like this. My sister was like, please don't embarrass me. Remember, she just said it. I was like,
I'm still learning.
So I know it's withusinmind.org, With Us in Mind Incorporated, and withusinmind.org on Instagram and Facebook. With Us in Mind. Y'all just pray for me. I'm working on it. I am doing, church-wise, it's church, but it's really not. I'm bringing women from all walks of life, and I have women that are incarcerated who will be attending my revival. So they'll be virtual, but they'll be attending the revival, Refresh My Oil. I have something called The Pour. And The Pour is where we just take men and women, domestic violence survivors, and we pour back into them. We help them in every aspect of their life. And then I know a lot of people don't like when I say this, but I help the victimizer. Somebody gotta help.
I do. And with the bully, you have to in order to get to the root.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
Because it came from something, you know, and that's a whole other topic in itself. You know, but with anti-bullying, we have our anti-bully walk every year, and it will be our 7th year, and we target we talk and support the person that is being the bullier. You know?
Yes.
You gotta go to the root.
Yes.
And I believe that's great, because I believe that's something else in the perspective of mental health that's overlooked. Sure, we're paying attention to the people who are being perpetrated upon, but how much energy and time do we spend on the people who are doing the perpetrating?
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Where's it come from? Where's the roots? How did it start? What can we do to get you out of that mindset into
Yes.
somewhere different and somewhere healthier?
Mhm.
Yes. And that's been a lot of my work. I don't even know how I got pulled into. I do know, but I got pulled into this human trafficking component. So I've been working a lot in the human trafficking world because there's a lot of work that needs to be done with them mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, the whole nine. So with us in mind, me as a life coach, I have a boot camp that I do. I'm super sweet up until you get to the boot camp. I tell everybody, here's a disclaimer. I'm not and the boot camp is a lot different, but it's so necessary. And we've had an 89% success rate here in the state of New Jersey. So people coming off of welfare completely, not any more assistance. I've been working so hard because I want people to understand it's a temporary inconvenience for your permanent improvement. And so we're doing a lot. We're really back to the community. I don't know what God going to do. I've been in talks with him trying to get back to the DMV area. I have been trying to come back home. I just received a 25 years of service from Washington, D.C. Department, from the courts and the police department. I just received my honor, so it's been good. So I'm like, I want to come back home. Like, what you need me to do? So I know you remember the police department, 300 Indiana Avenue. Right across was that big blue. You guys remember that building? It used to be a shelter home. So I'm trying to buy that building. So I keep telling people any way that we can receive support. We're trying to buy that building because I don't want them to continue to take away from us. I want them to build and seed into us, and seed into us will allow us to house families. I don't want to just give them shelter temporarily. We want to house families. So we're doing a lot. I'm looking at building. He's taking me up and down the highway, and I just opened up a rehab center in Arizona. And so I'm excited. I'm so excited about this work. This is all I know. I don't really know nothing else. He could have left out the pastor thing and I could have just kept doing this. I was cool without it, but I'm so proud of you ladies, and I'm so grateful for you ladies. I'm glad that I got to meet you all, and Mr. John, you two young gentlemen. We're so grateful for you. And when you said it earlier, I'm sorry, I'm Pastor for real. When you said it earlier, Tamika mentioned that you were blind, you actually have better vision than the rest of us. And for people like you, I'm grateful. You're able to see things that we can't even see nor imagine. So for the work that you're doing, the tireless work, but the work that you're doing without anger towards the people that may be able to visually see, you can see things that we'll never be able to see. And so please don't stop what you're doing. I'm grateful for everything that you're doing. Please don't ever stop what you're doing. You give us a perspective that we'll never be able to gain. So thank you. We appreciate you. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, I just want to say thank y'all so much, individually and collectively. You all are beautiful. You all are queens. You are just amazing in everything that you do. Stay the course. Don't give up. And let your light shine. Just keep letting it shine. We are all stars because we all go through different adversities, but yet we keep shining in spite of. So thank you so much. Whatever I could do to be a help at any time, please do not hesitate to contact me. I truly appreciate you, and this has been amazing. And hopefully we can definitely double back and have another one soon.
Yes.
Okay.
We would definitely love you ladies to come back in the next season. we touched on some things that we just was just the tip of the iceberg, and we believe me, you guys got so much more to offer. So from me and Stars and Tamika, please keep in contact. We would definitely want you guys to come back next season.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. So with that being said, Mr. John, you want to say your last words?
Yep, indeed I will. It's been a pleasure. Hope this has been entertaining and educational, and as always, a source of wisdom and inspiration. But we have come to an end to another episode. So with that being said, the wisdom bar is closed.
Bye, ladies. Y'all take care.
Have a good
God
day.
bless you.
Take care.